One of my favorite things is getting a look into the places that keep transit systems moving, and it's not so often that these places themselves feel truly impressive in their own right. So when I got the chance to tour and film Toronto's massive Leslie Barnes streetcar maintenance facility, which is bigger than some rapid transit system yards, I jumped at the chance. So let's dive in to see where Toronto's streetcars are stored, maintained, and put through their paces. We started our tour inside the main hall of the Leslie Barnes, and wow, this place is the most dramatic transit maintenance facility I've ever seen, and the modern Toronto streetcars, which are big at 30 meters long, feel almost toy-like inside. It's hard to get across the scale in a video, so if you get the chance to visit the facility at one of the City of Toronto's Doors Open events, it's absolutely worth it. I also have to say the way the architects colored the various ducts and catwalks and laid them out feels artful. The ceiling is also way higher than it needs to be, creating an open feeling with tons of natural light for workers, while at the same time being angled just so to point the massive green roof towards the city. This place is a piece of modern transit industrial art. Walking around, one of the first things we got to see was a lifted up streetcar, with its bogies dropped out and rolled to the side with a series of rails and turntables, so maintenance work could be done on them. The building has a number of tracks allowing different work to take place, and each one can handle several cars at once. This building was planned with the low-floor streetcars top of mind, and so everything is designed explicitly for them, such as these locations with lifts placed perfectly for the streetcars. Now, you don't usually see them when they're on a streetcar rolling around Toronto, but here we can see the bogies that the streetcars ride on. Each streetcar has 3 bogies, though they're not interchangeable as they have various differences. One has a sanding unit and another has a lubricator, for example, which is meant to keep squeaks, creaks, and groans to a minimum. You can also see the traction motors and gearboxes. Just to the side, we could also see a bogie press, which is used to simulate the weight of a streetcar on a bogie, not entirely different from the one we saw at Stadler's factory. Managing the maintenance for a fleet that consists of 204 streetcars with 60 more being delivered means having a ton of parts on hand. And as you might expect, that means there is a huge on-site warehouse filled with everything a streetcar needs. They also have a very cool automated part picking machine for the smaller parts, and the usual tool sign-out vending machine that ensures workers have tools which are validated for critical work. We also got to see the yard control room, which acts a lot like an air traffic control tower, being a dark room with monitors displaying track occupancy at the facility and with controllers coordinating with streetcar operators as they move streetcars and bring them in and out of the yard. If you were curious, the Leslie Barnes facility is located on Leslie Street, just south of Lakeshore Boulevard in the eastern Portlands, so unlike the other streetcar facilities in the city, it has a dedicated track spur running almost a kilometer from Queen Street south to the yard. Surrounding the yard is a big green space, with the appropriately named Leslie Barnes Park, a big public art piece, and the Martin Goodman Trail wrapping around the north and western sides of the facility. There are also sound walls to keep any noise from a squeaky streetcar away from the public, but they actually have windows in the sound walls, so curious onlookers and transit fans can see the vehicles rolling around inside. This is something I really appreciate because cities have tons of people in them that are passionate about transit, and putting a window on a sound wall is a pretty small expense that means a lot to people. Heading back indoors, we see the pits. That is, pits multiple because these maintenance tracks have both half pits on the sides that allow workers to work on the wheel sets, lower bodywork, and skirts, and full pits for work on the undercarriage, all without having to lift the vehicle. Just next door, there are a number of overhead walkways, which allow work to be done on the top of the cars. This was a big part of the design of the facility that needed to align with the Flexity streetcars, as much of the equipment that used to be under the floor moved onto the roof with the new low-floor vehicles. From here, workers can do work on the HVAC units, traction converters, and pantographs. That being said, if work on a specific component needs to be done, it will be removed and replaced, and then taken to a separate part of the facility where workers can disassemble an AC unit, for example, to get it back into working order. The TTC has been modifying some of its other facilities with taller bays to allow some of this work to go on, but Leslie is the main site because it was built for it. I should say there are also lifts up to the walkways and down into the pits, allowing heavy equipment to be moved around the shop. As you'd probably imagine, there are a ton of safety systems at play, including a gate system that protects workers from falling and a key lock system to make sure nobody moves a streetcar or tries to turn on the power while another worker is carrying out work on it. Across the way, there's an area for doing inspections on cars, such as checking the trolley shoes for replacement. Trolley poles have actually already almost entirely been phased out on the streetcar system, as the old wires have been replaced with heavier duty ones on different style hangers that can work with pantographs. Not only do the pantographs not have the same dewiring risk that you see with the trolley poles, but as you can really appreciate when you see the maintenance processes, the pantographs need their carbon strips replaced far less often than the shoes on trolley poles, because the wear can be spread across them. This is why you'll see overhead wires designed for use with pantographs zigzagging overhead. Keeping the streetcar safely running means that they're in the shop every day or two for regular maintenance, with comprehensive inspections going on every 60 days, and given the large streetcar fleet and the fact that some routes run 24 hours a day, that means the Leslie Barns is also a 24-hour operation. Some of those regular activities include washing the streetcars in a custom car wash similar to the one we saw at Go Transit's Willowbrook yard, or just a regular car wash, as well as loading sand into the streetcars, which is used for maintaining traction, particularly on steep slopes, with a sand pump that looks a lot like a gas pump, but has all kinds of integrated systems for mitigating dust, because otherwise it would get really dusty. But there's actually even more heavy-duty work that goes on here. For one, they have a body shop that, like a car body shop, can replace body panels and, in this case, windows. There's also a huge paint booth where components can be painted in safety. And it doesn't end there. Seriously, this place is massive. It's really quite cool. They also have wheel lathes for reprofiling the wheels and keeping them in good condition, allowing streetcars to roll smoothly and quietly. And they actually have two machines in tandem so that workers can do an entire bogie at once, speeding up the work. Now, a lot like at the Finch West LRT maintenance yard, the Leslie Barns has big glass barn doors that open the various bays to the outside, while also keeping things warm in winter and cool in the summer. Despite visiting the barns in the middle of the summer, it wasn't baking inside. It was really comfortable, and these doors help. It was, however, much hotter in the yard. This yard is massive, with 11 tracks for storage, and the facility on the whole has the capacity to hold over 100 streetcars, though when we visited, most were busy flying around the city. After visiting the yard, we got to look at the simulator, which was similar to the bus simulator TransLink uses to train drivers, but this is of course for streetcars. I hadn't tried driving one of the streetcars before, but I must say they are much more nimble than you'd expect, and surprisingly user-friendly. My driving was not great though. Our last destination for the day was something very special. We were able to head upstairs into the rafters of the building along a series of catwalks, which are another place that you really get a sense for the scale and height of the facility. A few more sets of stairs and we got up onto the giant green roof, over which you can see a great view of both the plants thriving up here and the city skyline. All in all, what's so cool about the Leslie Barns is how the facility takes an industrial facility, they are maintaining heavy streetcars after all, and makes it attractive, friendly, and arguably a really good neighbor. It's the type of modern industrial space our cities need more of, able to blend into the spaces where they are so desperately needed and where people live. And something does feel nice about the Portland's location coming full circle, from the dirty, polluting facilities of the past to something that arguably adds to the intrigue of the city without making it an unpleasant place to be. Best of all of the folks from the TTC who showed us around and helped to coordinate the visit were super into their work and excited to show us how different systems worked, why different design decisions were made, and how things were getting even better. It was a lot of fun.